Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. Your boy Road Dogg here with the man, the myth, the shortest golfer to drive 300 yards on the golf course, Mr. Karl Bryan, the king on top of the hill. How are you, big fella?
Road Dogg, I am doing well. That makes absolutely no sense to those listening because they weren't on the pre-show before the big call, or the pre-show before the big show. Is that what you say? So that's all right, though. We'll leave their imaginations to run wild with my short ass hitting the golf ball. There you go, eh?
There you go. You know, I think that's the first time we were actually like both laughing in the opening, but there you go. This is all the fun times. More on that later. But anyways, what's going on there, big fella? You got some big stuff happening, or what's going on with you?
Got some big stuff happening, bud. Working on some software, hiring some new folks. Looking at the new year is upon us here. Depends upon when everybody's listening to this, but the new year's cranking. So knocking over some projects, big shoots, knocking over some projects, and excited for what is to come. There is no doubt.
Beauty. Love it. You want to pop right into this bad boy, or what do you want to do here?
Let's do it, buddy. You got them lined up for me?
I do. I sure do. First one, very timely. So obviously with the ongoing pandemic, somebody actually just threw this question and said, the number one thing that you've learned during the pandemic. I'm curious because obviously a lot of people, I've found anyways, either people are really hitting it out of the park or people are really, really struggling. There doesn't seem to be a lot of middle ground, but and people are learning a lot. And what did you learn? Like, what's been your biggest lesson so far in this whole pandemic?
One is that I don't think it's ever going to end. As that it was supposed to be. Remember, it was like 2 weeks to lock us inside for 2 weeks. But no, look, good question. I think the fact that this question is, I think, what really, I'm taking away from it, and I think others are taking away, is that, are we just like, I've definitely, I work pretty hard. There's no doubt about it. Kind of getting stuck in the grind is something you want to stay away from. So what is it you're learning from the pandemic, and what are the changes that you're going to make? That kind of thing. I think that's, I guess that's the obvious one. Life is precious, yeti. Sounds like a platitude and all that stuff, but a lot of people get stuck planning their life as opposed to living their life, right? And I think that, happiness is just around the next bend. I guess, again, this directed at me. If you want me to tell me, I don't know if there's any value there, but I am definitely going to put more of an emphasis on my health. Again, I think that sounds pretty platitudinal, but I can tell you, I was thinking Steve Jobs, absolutely freaking love the guy. He's my number one, my entrepreneur of entrepreneurs. I channel my inner Steve Jobs when I'm coming up with a, big question, or I've got a business challenge. I kind of go, I channel my inner Steve Jobs and come out. And then I realized that, and this is literally over, the break that we've just had. And I'm like, Steve Jobs, he literally, I can show you an interview where he says he doesn't want to be the richest guy in the graveyard. And you know what happened? He's the freaking richest guy in the graveyard. And I you know what I mean? And so really Steve Jobs in a lot of ways lost. And that was something that hit me like just hit me like a punch in the mouth. I'm like, oh my God, you know what I mean? And again, you don't want to be that guy. And I don't think that I'm on pace for that. I think that I managed to take some time, for the family, myself, and all that sort of stuff. But could I do it at a deeper level, at a higher level? The answer is yes. I also find that building deep, I don't think there's anything that you could do in the coming, weeks, months, quarters, years, than building deep relationships. And then I would take deep, and I want you to capitalize it, bold, italicize it, like going deep, both business and personal. very important. But like, I don't think there's anything more rewarding that you can do than that. Just an example that I would use is that I go on a annual fishing trip, right? I've had my best friend. I've had same best friend since I was 8 years old. His mom, like, call her mom. She thinks like, she absolutely has adopted me as, family. His big brother is my big brother, right? We refer to each other as brothers, very genuinely and sincerely. But so we go on this fishing trip, and you could imagine, I'm busy, they're busy, everybody's busy. It is a pain in the neck. One time I made a mess. I was actually playing hockey in Europe at the same time as the fishing trip, and the fishing trip was booked long before the hockey. But that's just me being a dum-dum. But anyway, so I had to go from Italy to this very, very remote place in the middle of Nowheresville. The bottom line is that just, what was necessary to get there was an absolute, issue. I had to literally, my own plane brought me in because it's on you got to take a float plane in. Forget all of that. The bottom line is that we've done it every year for a number of years. And when I look back and I'm like, what is the coolest thing that I've done over the we've been doing this fishing trip for, I think, 4 years. What's the coolest thing that I've done? I can tell you that fishing trip, and then it's not the fishing trip, it's the deep bond with my brothers. You know what I mean? Like, literally my family. And the stories when we get together, the stories that we tell and the laughs that we have. Oh my gosh. So I don't know. And then I would take that, right? And then I would go, okay, but like with a business relationship, what are you doing? Like, another thing that I do is I go on a cruise every year with a bunch of business guys, right? Well, one of my best friends on the planet is John Cornetta. And some people listening would know him. He's part owner of Groove, what's it called? Groove Cart, Groove Digital. So he's business partners with Mike Filsame. Bottom line, Johnny Cornetta, absolutely love the guy. Call him Corn Dog. A legend. He's one of my best friends, and I met him on that cruise only a number of years ago. But I can now tell you, he's one of my best friends on the planet, right? So anyways, what am I saying? I am going to be taking more time for myself to build not just relationships, but deep relationships, going deep, deep, deep. Here's an example. Here's something that I've done over the break that might provide some value. Okay. And I want to encourage everybody to do this. Don't thank me for this. If you like it, thank Charlie Munger, and not just, and forget liking it. If it makes an impact and an improvement on your life, Charlie Munger's the guy, and this is just something you need to follow on, right? So we normally do, we break into a new year, we have a birthday, or we have an event, and somebody close to us dies, whatever that might be. What we do is we go into contemplation mode, we ponder, which is a great thing, but then we design, hey, this is what I want my perfect life to be, right? Or we build a dream board or a vision board, and take a piece of paper and write down what my 12 months is going to look like, right? Like Road Dog, we just talked about this with the group, right? Like, what's the plan for, what do we have on the boil, and what are we doing with the software, and where are we going, right? Or in some people's world, they'll build a bucket list. Same sort of idea, right? Well, here's a million times more powerful exercise, and something that I've just undertook. And I literally put it, and what I called it is my shitty life. Okay. And I really drew it out. And I basically, instead of going and building this awesome life, what I did is I took a piece of paper, and I think that there's power in that, instead of using your iPad, your phone, whatever. And I basically wrote down, and I just put, what would a horrific life be? What would failure look like? And I did sort of semi short term, and then with a bigger vision, right? I've got to tell you that will be, for, and not for everybody, right? For the vast majority of the people listening, that will be a million times more powerful exercise than doing the dream board, or, getting a picture of Lamborghini and putting it up on, in front of your computer. Go and design what would be a brutal life and lay it out. So then you're like, okay, well, what are some examples of what I put on there? Might make sense. Like, last year I planned to go down. There's a place in California. I don't know what it's called, but they do like it's a health clinic, right? And they go really deep, and then they basically lay it out and say, look, these are the places you're deficient. This is where you're doing great. This is your cholesterol. This is your this. This is your that. Here's what you're susceptible to in the coming years. Heaven forbid, they find something, dramatic. There's people that have been going to the doctor for X amount of time that have got a horrific disease that is going to end their life, but they're not picking up on it because they haven't gone and done this. Well, what made it onto my list is what a ridiculous life I would have if I was so busy and so driven and so preoccupied that I never took the time to book that flight and to, basically book that, I don't even know what you call it, an assessment, right? Like how stupid would even, and not only from a point of view of knowing, but like it's peace of mind as well, right? Because surely if I'm totally comfortable that I'm super healthy and I know that I got to cut out eggs or I got to cut out cheese or whatever it is, how much better would that be, right? And like, that's, yeah. And not having, and then being so preoccupied and so busy that an entire 12 months goes by and then I didn't go and form, like, it's one thing to form, deep relationship with my brothers that I just mentioned, right? And what about my own kids? What about my own wife? And then not taking time to basically do that. And not just, the weekend and then, finishing at 5:00 instead of 6:30 during the day. Like there's something magic about locking yourself in the same room with folks. We've all experienced that, or in the car, right? It's like the movie Vacation, which is one of my favorites. If you haven't seen the new Vacation, you have got to watch it. In my opinion, I've seen it numerous times and I laughed just as hard, the last time as I did the first time. But like, there's something powerful about that, right? Being locked in the car with your kids. It can also be a little dodgy, but anyways, you get the idea. I just think that that's important, and also on my list, like how brutal would it be? Like I've never drank a cup of coffee in my life. Right. So recently, when I say recently, it's been more than recent, but anyway, so now what I do is I wake up in the morning and I drink, what's called a London fog. Right. A lot of folks won't have heard of that, but in Canada, they're very, very popular. Just think of it as like a very tasty tea with kind of cappuccino, kind of, milk on top, like frothed milk. And the damn things are tasty as heck. And, when I wake up in the morning, I now have it. But like, I don't need caffeine in any way, shape, or form. I've literally never drank a cup of coffee in my life. It's just not something I need to get my day going. And I'm like, imagine a life where it's impossible for me to get started without some sugary drink, right? Like, it just seems so lame. And there's no way that it is adding to my bigger picture, like I said, of, like my bigger picture of health, right? My best friend, like I said, I've had the same best friend since I was 8 years old. We're literally brothers. He lives on the other side of the country, with his kids and with his family. Like, how brutal would it be for me to realize that they are too old now to be able to build that really deep relation? We're pretty close, right? It's Uncle Karl and that kind of stuff. Like at some stage, they're going to get to the age where they're not going to want to hang out with Uncle Karl, right? They might even be approaching that, by the way. But like not jumping on a plane and then organizing, 3 to 4 days to go and lock myself in their house with them so that we can't get away from one another and we can build some of those memories and deepen that relationship. I think that's important. So okay, so there you go, Road Dog. I don't know, going down. I think that is hugely powerful. What I want to leave everybody with, and what I want you to do, I want you to go grab a pen, piece of paper. If you got to do it on your iPhone or do it on your iPad or your Android, wherever you got to do it, I don't care. But I think pen and paper's got power. I want you to design what a brutal life will be, right? And by the way, you might be the small percentage that it doesn't really motivate, and you'll probably be the larger percentage that you get a tremendous amount out of it. But I totally want everybody to undertake that exercise. And then not only for you, but once you've experienced it, guess what you're going to be able to do? Help your clients do the same, right? So, and that, again, this is Charlie Munger 101, the OG of mental bottles. So Road Dog, what did I learn during the pandemic? Just maybe like everybody, I hate to sound platitudinal and I work very hard not to be that guy, but, exercise, bigger picture, looking after your health, not being the richest guy in the graveyard when actually the guy who says I don't want to be the richest guy in the graveyard ended up being the richest guy in the graveyard. I don't think Steve Jobs, he would have been the guy who didn't take the 4 days to fly to California and get that test done. Right. So it's not going to be me. So I don't know, Road Dog. That's what the pandemic, which is, we're still amongst it. It will go away and well and truly go away. And I can't wait, just like everybody else. But there you go, man. That's my answer.
So 2 things I just learned about you that are quite frightening. Number one, is you don't drink coffee, and so I don't even know. It's sort of like the guy that doesn't drink beer. You're like, I got questions for you. And then the other one, the big one here, why do you love like being locked in rooms with people? Like I'm so glad I'm doing this from my office and not yours. I don't know if I would be allowed to.
It's a thing. It's a fetish. Did you know I've never drank a cup of coffee in my life? Have I never told you that?
No, I didn't know that. I knew you drank London Fox, but like when I think of frothy guys, I definitely think of Karl Bryan. But like that is, I didn't know that. How did I not know that?
I don't know. There you go, Shoots.
Oh, wow, there you go. You see, you learn something new every single episode of Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. All right, Big Shoots. You talk about long-lasting friendships, relationships, all that sort of thing. This is a weak-ass attempt at a segue. Because we've got a question about mentorship, and the question is, what's your best argument for having a mentor? And I know that you could go down a massive rabbit hole on this, but we'll try and cap it. But what's your best?
Best argument for having somebody's basically like, how do you sell mentorship? Is what I'm taking. Is that what you think? Is that what they're asking?
Well, the question is your best argument for having a mentor. So I'm not sure if they're selling it or if they're just looking for your best argument, but I'm pretty sure they're selling it.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll just tell you, the problem is that we ask rich people for money and broke people for advice. And if you were to ask me, why does that happen? It's again, Charlie Munger 101. This is like the Charlie Munger show, but we overvalue what is immediately available. Okay. So if you ever wonder how you're driving around in circles and you're like, I'm not going to McDonald's, we're not going to McDonald's, we're not going to McDonald's, boom, you end up at McDonald's. Like, how does that happen? You overvalue what's immediately available, and McDonald's is always immediately available. And remember, so you're like, okay, well, what would be like, again, you guys have heard me say this before, no doubt, but this is super important. Like a real mentor. So how do you stop that from happening? How do you not ask the broke person for advice? Is that like a true mentor is somebody who can tell you what not to do. Okay. Absolutely critical. I think the power of that is immense, right? So, because again, every dickhead can just give you a list of things to do. Like, you're not short of things to think about. I'm not short of ideas. Everybody listening, nobody's short on ideas or things that they think might work, right? True mentor can show you the path, like the dead ends. And also, look, okay, so if you're looking for, like, you're sitting with a business owner and you're like, look, man, you need me in your life to help guide and whatnot. People lie and numbers don't, right? So just go to the best in anything. They've got mentors. Or maybe, look, a metaphor, okay? I take you jump on a plane, you land in a new city, okay? So you're in Rome, Italy, and you don't, like, you're just going, what are you going to do? You're going to jump in the car and drive around in circles forever? Or do you want GPS, right? Like, imagine if you don't have a GPS, here's what you could do. You could work really hard. You drive around in circles, not give up, right? Because that's not your style. You could even lack sleep. You could hustle and grind and eventually find your destination in 3 days. And then you know what you do? You call yourself successful, right? Well, if you had a GPS, guess what you could have done? You could have literally got there in 15 minutes, right? It's like that is the business world. Like, people are going in the wrong direction, but not realizing it, right? Again, you motivate an idiot, they do stupid things quicker. $billion casinos are built off like a 1% to 3% advantage in their favor, right? Wouldn't you want an advantage, right? A mentor, just look at a mentor as somebody who, like, you're playing poker and they can see the cards that are flipped over, right? Like, and again, playing poker, you can win with a 7-2, right? I get a funny story. I think we've said this on a podcast at one stage, Road Dog. You've mentioned it. You and I have played poker together, and it is not pretty. I am not a good poker player by any stretch, but I have won off a 7-2. But wouldn't you rather have pocket aces, right? Like, the percentages are your favor big time. Or, like, I know there's a story about Arnold Schwarzenegger. So, obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Olympia, years in a row, very successful guy, very driven guy, etc. He wanted to have bigger calves. So what did he do? He went and found a guy who had these monster calves. He got on a plane, rented a hotel room or whatever that looked like, and he went to go visit the guy. Well, what he worked out real quick is this guy was doing calf raises with, I don't know, I'm making a meal of these numbers, but like, this guy was doing calf raises with like 900 pounds. And then Arnie worked out, well, I'm doing too many reps, right? Like I'm only doing, let's say 450, which is half the weight, and I'm doing twice as many reps. This guy's doing way more weight and only a few reps. Okay, well, the story ends with Arnie getting accused of getting calf implants. True story, right? So again, if Arnold Schwarzenegger is doing it, should the chiropractor, should the dentist, should the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker? And it's like, and maybe take the word mentor and replace it with coach, significantly more popular term. And it's just one that, like, all the best athletes of all time, name one without a coach. They don't necessarily reference a mentor, but they always reference coaches, right? So the best entrepreneurs of all time, Steve Jobs had Bill Campbell, Tony Robbins had Jim Rohn, Ellen DeGeneres had Oprah, right? Michael Jordan had Phil Jackson, Zuckerberg was mentored by Steve Jobs, right? Usain Bolt, right? The guy's 6'6", freaking like fastest guy, smoothest runner of all time. Guess what? He didn't have a coach. He's got multiple coaches. Tiger Woods, the greatest golfer of all time, multiple coaches, right? So when you think like, okay, so I can't get access, like Steve Jobs had Bill Campbell. I never had heard of Bill Campbell. Like, how can I get access? Here's what you got: books, audios, videos. It's never been like, what do you say? The availability to not just mentorship, but $1 million mentorship, so available, right? Like, it's sitting there, right? YouTube, podcasts like this one. It's all right out there. And it's just a matter of you gaining the knowledge, understanding what you're looking for, and then going to apply. And like Bill Gates goes on reading vacations. Think about that. He literally goes on a reading vacation. Zuckerberg's got his book club, right? Warren Buffett's famous for, I think he reads 8 hours. I don't even know what it is, but it's crazy, like 8 hours a day, something crazy. Like he's got his own plane. You jump on a plane and there's stories like nobody talks, like he's just reading the whole time, right? So, but with all that though, okay, so here's maybe a platform. Like if you can't get your client to do this, if you can't do this, if I can't do this, Road Dogg, you can't do this, you have to admit that you are lost, right? Pride comes before a fall, and it's the humble that will inherit the earth, right? But pride comes before a fall. So you've got to be able, like when you do, and I'm not talking about woe is me and, fake humility, and most definitely not demeaning yourself, which is just lame, right? It's just admitting that, like, I don't know it all. I need guidance. I need a mentor or a coach. If you can't get your, client, the small business owner, the chiropractor, the butcher, baker, candlestick maker to admit that, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, realistically, this is going to be a short-lived relationship, and there might be an argument to say that this is somebody you want to be passing on, or more to the point, actually, no, what you need to do, if they don't feel like they need a mentor, you haven't disrupted them enough. Okay. So example I would give you there is that if I was in like when I'm doing a speaking event, okay, and I'm going to do what's called a platform sell, which means that I got, 20, 50, 100 people in the room, doesn't matter, 100 people in the room. And at the end, I'm going to pitch. And my goal is to get them to stand up, walk to the back of the room and hand over their credit card. Okay, my goal, the last thing that I want is a standing ovation. Actually, a standing ovation and that dynamic will actually ruin your sales, right? So what you really want to do is you want to disrupt them. How do you do that? You take them to an ugly place. So at the end of that talk, when I'm doing a talk and I'm platform selling and I want you to literally stand up and just hand over your credit card, I would rather you in tears, pissed off. I want you saying to yourself things like, that's it, enough's enough, joke's over, never again. That's my job. So if you haven't got your client to a point where they are willing to admit that they are lost, you haven't followed the right process. And conveniently, guess what? We have created software that basically facilitates the entire thing. And no doubt, if you've listened to this, you've heard me talk about how we can find any business owner $100,000 in 45 minutes without spending $1 on marketing or advertising. Well, the way that we do that is we just take them to these very simple and obvious parts of their business that they're not currently optimizing and just go, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. The biggest problem that we have is that it's not that we can't find $100,000, it's that we find too much. We've actually got to water down the numbers. Otherwise, if they only made $100,000 last year and we find them $1 million, there's actually a little bit of a break in rapport, right? Which is no good. So anyway, so we built that, but it's not that you'd stand up and then walk away. You just haven't disrupted them. You're taking them into, oh my gosh, is this guy ever intelligent mode, instead of, oh my God, like, yeah, I'm lost. This is why if you've got a PhD and let's say, you're Dr. Dave Smith, if you put Dr. Dave Smith and you go sit with a chiropractor, you hurt your conversions. It's very similar dynamic to rolling up in a Ferrari, which is a horrible idea when you're trying to sell small business coaching. Because you ultimately want them to say to themselves something to the effect, well, if this idiot could pull this off, surely I could do half as well, right? Like that's really the dynamic. So if you've ever seen a professional speaker talk, they will get up there and within almost immediately, or certainly within the first few minutes, the first thing they do is tear themselves down. I talk about how I failed grade 8 math, which is not 100% accurate, but it is very, it was a miracle that I got through. And I'm pretty sure they just put a 50 on my report card just so that I could slide through so they didn't fail me, that kind of thing, right? But the bottom line is that you tear yourself down a little bit. That is important, right? So anyways, look, if Jordan needed, if Michael Jordan in basketball needed a coach and a mentor, and the business owner doesn't think they do, like I said, what else can you say? Or even like my dad, I refer to him as the grand poobah of AA. My dad's been in AA for as long as I've been alive, and Alcoholics Anonymous, for anybody who doesn't know what that is. One of the first things that you need to do when you walk into AA is that you have to admit that you are lost. You have to, worded differently, is you have to completely give yourself to the program, right? So thinking that you're going to go to AA, get it all under control, and then you're going to be able to come home, which many of them think this, right? Well, look, now I've got this under control. I've stopped drinking for 6 months. I'm only going to have a couple of beers with my bud. It ends horrifically 99.5% of the time, right? It ends worse. The only thing that happens is you end up much worse off than you were prior to going to AA, right? So you have to admit that you were lost, right? AA, very, very successful program. You got to do it. The other thing you got to do is, like, by admitting that you are lost, again, go a little bit deeper than that. You've got to open up space in your life so the right people can step in, right? So think of it as a room with furniture. You've only got so much room. I know that your mind is infinite and there's debates and we could go down a rabbit hole here, but it will be a more powerful undertaking, I think, for you if this is resonating and it's resonating with your clients, is that you've got a room with X amount of furniture. In order to bring in the new, desk, you're going to have to move something else out, right? So you got to move things out to move things in, right? So I think that by admitting that you are lost, you are moving a lot out so that you can start moving some new furniture in, is kind of where I'm going with that. That could be a bit of a rabbit hole, but anyways. And again, guys, remember, the problem is that you ask rich people for money and then broke people for advice, right? So it's just the entire system. When I say system, just our what do they say? Like, what am I trying to say? Just if you follow the masses, you get what the masses get. And then I'll just ask you, do you want what the masses get? And, during this pandemic, we have all learned exactly, the financial state of the average family. And it's not a pretty one. And again, they're just keeping up with the Joneses and buying the BMWs and whatever it is. So it's like when I meet a business coach and they tell me that they won't cold call, right? Like these words come out of their mouth. I remember, people lie, numbers don't. I don't need to look at their bank balance to know that they're flat broke, right? Like the end, done deal, right? Like a successful person doesn't say this. They might not necessarily pick up the phone and start calling, right? But like they would never just say generally, and this is 95% of the time, right, that they won't do it, right? One of my top guys, he's got a team of 80 coaches underneath him. He had 0 when he started with us 3 years ago. He did we do virtual business coaching mastery. Again, we get all, our 7-figure coaches, and they do presentations on how they would start again and really crush it, 30, 60, 90 days, how they'd get to 100 grand within 90 days, from a standing start, et cetera. And basically he calls people left and right, right? People lie, numbers don't. That's just, what else can I say? If you don't feel like you need a mentor, you're crazy. Yeah. And the person, let's go deeper on the guy who says he won't cold call. Like if you're saying that, it's all about you. And then again, success is all about them, as in the local business owners, right? So like saying that, just saying that, you know what I mean? Like the attitude is basically, screwed before you even start. So you gotta change the frame, right? The guy that's the person that you're about to call is going through a separation, likely a divorce, and he's going to kill himself within 6 months, right? Would you all of a sudden, if you knew that and you could paint that picture, would you suddenly pick up the phone and would you see this as a cold call? So what I'm trying to do is just reframe that, where you just got to make it more about them than you, right? So that's critical. Even like I had a quote unquote relationship mentor, right? I think they call that a marriage counselor. But anyway, so we'll call it a relationship mentor, had like a, quiet conversation. I realized that, okay, here's what happens. You've got masculine and feminine energy. And like, if you are a masculine male, masculine is your dominant, like that's just the way you are. Like at your foundation, you are masculine. And then a woman is feminine, right? This isn't lesbian, gay, none of that stuff. It's just masculine and feminine energy. Okay. So when under pressure, and there's emotion involved, and as if when you're dealing with your spouse, there's not going to be emotion involved, what happens is you go to the opposite of your core. So in other words, if you are married and you get into a fight with your spouse and you are masculine, when you get emotional, you will go into feminine mode. And then if she is feminine and you guys get in a fight and her emotions are up, she will go into masculine mode. Okay. So what happens there is that there's a break in polarity, and then there is no sexual polarity. There is no sexual attraction. You become unattracted to one another. And this is why, sex and all that sort of stuff stops happening. Right. So basically, speaking to somebody and being humble enough to saying, I need some guidance, I need some help, and then not asking from a place of like just lameness, asking from a place of I'm actually going to do something, I'm going to make some changes. The power of that is immense. But you're going to have, in order to go to somebody and ask those kinds of questions and be open to them, you are going to have to, you got to move some furniture out. You've got to admit that you are lost. So I don't know. That's, I think best argument for having a mentor. So really, I would say that, you've got to disrupt them. You've got to get them to a place where at the end of it, they're like, so can you help me do all this stuff? Like when people walk people through our software in our $100,000 meeting, like that's the end result with ridiculous predictability, right? So can you help guide me? Could you provide me a roadmap of what just happened? And of course the software pumps out a roadmap. So anyways, Road Dog, that's, I think that's a good question. Cause again, selling, like how do you convince somebody that they need a mentor? Because some people are just pig-headed, especially that alpha male. It's hard for them to admit that they are lost, but that's the place that you got to take them. And it doesn't need to be that implicit, like as though, oh, I am lost. Like that's not what they're going to say, but you want them thinking to themselves, like, that's enough. Joke's over. This is crazy. What am I doing? You want them saying that kind of stuff. So that's what I say, Road Dog. What do you think?
So if you're looking for a mentor, I just want to just flip the script here just for a second. Do you look for somebody who's perhaps a little bit more generalist, or would you like go, look, I'm looking for help in this one very specific part of my business? Yeah. Would you like laser?
That's a great. Yep. Okay. I get the question and I like it. What I would say is when you can define the problem, frankly, if you can define the problem, you pretty much solve it automatically. But yeah, definitely not so much unless what I'm looking for is like a generalist, right? Because I'm really, really lost. And if I don't even know the question that I need to be asking and I can't define the problem, I'm looking for a generalist to help me define the problem. And then I want to go a little bit, do you know what I mean? So then I want to go a little bit deeper. Like I hired a personal trainer, comes to my house 3 times a week, yada, yada, yada. we'll call him he's a professional hockey player, right? And he comes and I play hockey. I want to, I enjoy, ripping around the hockey rink. It made sense that I hired a guy with a professional hockey background to guide me. But you know what I found through that process is that I love kickboxing, and then kickboxing is something that, I don't know, it's not something that I've done it before, but I'm no good at it. And I feel like by doing something new, that's, you know what I mean? Like, rather than, like I've been doing, squats and that sort of stuff. Like we're working on a lot of exercises that I know really, really well. And I don't feel like I'm learning anything new, if that makes sense. I'm getting in better shape. But with kickboxing, I feel like there'll be a level of excitement towards it and a level of growth that's going to, well, in fact, I know that's going to dramatically exceed anything I'm going to do with training around hockey. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to change. So I'm going to go from generalist personal trainer, we'll call it, to a guy who's going to come by and we're going to do kickboxing 3 to 5 times a week. So I think that's kind of the answer, right? Where you're drilling down. So if you're struggling to define it, I feel like generalist is the place to go, but the generalist is not necessarily the coach for you forever. That might be until you work out, oh, wow, this is what I actually need to do. This is the, where I specifically need the guidance. And actually, Road Dog, I want to answer this also for the coaches listening. So your job as a business coach is that you don't want to be the generalist that then all of a sudden gets let go. So I would be encouraging you to guide your client on that process, right? And then help them drill down with, this is the specific area where I really need to guide you on the coming, 3 months, 90 days, what, you know what I mean? So that you don't all of a sudden end up losing your coaching agreement where they go to the Facebook lead generation guy. Help?
Yeah, I'm all I'm thinking about is a charity kickboxing match between you and me at the end of the year.
Yeah, Road Dog, I don't know, man. You might sitting on me.
That would be, this is weight class. I think I got you on the weight class. That's for sure, Big Sheets.
Johnny Utah is the referee. There you go.
Oh my God.
Let's do it.
No. You got to have Craig in there because at least he knows what's going on. Well, yeah. All right. Before we go down, because I could go down a rabbit hole there because I think that would be a lot of fun. Stay tuned, folks. The next LPW conference is going to be in Las Vegas, live from the MGM Grand. Right?
Let's do it.
All right. Boy, like now all of a sudden the next question is like, the question is, what's your favorite motivational quote? But I feel like we got to come up with some quotes and some advertising for this charity event. But let's back up the truck a little bit and keep it focused. So what is your favorite? Because if I asked you your favorite motivational movie, it's obviously The Secret. You were pumped that The Secret #2 came out. Amazing stuff. But totally tongue in cheek there, everybody. What is your favorite motivational quote, Karl Bryan?
What is my favorite motivational quote?
I can't wait. This can go anywhere.
It's a difficult one, right? Because I think that there's much like I was talking about a minute ago, like you got to have, like different situations call for different quotes. And I love, and I'm guessing this question's getting asked because I love motivational quotes and I pump that stuff around. I actually created a document once many years ago, it was about 15 years ago, but it had 252 pages. It's weird that I remember that number, but anyways, 252 pages of motivational quotes, dead set. So, and I just found it to be like hugely powerful. I remember I had an old sales trainer back in the day, and he said, the enemy of a great life is a good life. He's a great sales trainer, wasn't the most ethical guy in the world. And it's funny how some people come into your world and they're there to teach you one thing. And he taught me a great deal around sales, but there's other areas of, his life and other stuff that, I wasn't interested in, but the enemy of a great life is a good life. I think that's got huge power and that stuck with me for many, many years. When I do business coaching mastery, like every year, we normally go to Cancun when we're not living in the middle of a pandemic, and we take our top coaches there. And we, like when I'm on stage, the sign that sits right beside me is that you can get lucky and make it, but you can't get lucky and keep it. And that's not beside me on stage for the entire 4 days by accident. It's actually Wasey, recently with Christmas was not that long ago. And so my godson, Wasey, is Bieber's dad. You guys might have heard us talk about him, but he's a good buddy and an absolute legend, that boy. But anyway, so his godson, my godson, his son, what did I put in his Christmas card? You're measured in life by what you finish, not what you start. Again, I think there's huge power in that. I don't know if that's necessarily falling into the motivational quote. You'll be remembered for what you refuse to give up on. Jeff Bezos, in fact, I also wrote this in Wasey's Christmas card, but step by step ferociously. It's not, I didn't give him a Christmas card with a bunch of motivational quotes. Like I tied it in to, like it all made sense and I like to write. So whatever. But step by step ferociously. That's a Jeff Bezos line and I absolutely freaking love it. Everybody hates advertising until they need to sell their own car. Once again, it's not motivational, but I'm trying to come up with ones that I think have got insane power for, a business coach trying to get off their butt. And on the weekend, so Becky Auer, who's one of our clients, been a client for over a decade. She's in the Dan Kennedy Marketing Hall of Fame, an absolute rock star in her own right. Love her. But anyway, so she put on her Facebook, which you might have seen this, a lot of people did it, but they were like, put one motivational word or one whatever word for the coming year that starts with the first letter of your name, right? So I wrote crazy with my name's with a K, right? So it was crazy with a K, and I put because the crazy ones make all the money, which I believe that to be absolutely true, by the way. So, but the crazy ones make all the money. Again, not necessarily. I think there's huge power in that. Don't do what you love, but love what you do. People want to, that advice to go and, like you love hockey, so build a business around hockey. Well, that's a great way to start hating hockey, by the way. So the better roadmap is to, rather than do what you love, and if you end up doing what you love, that's absolutely amazing and get on you and high five and congrats. But you'd be better to follow the roadmap of falling in love with what you do, right? Like doing what you love and making millions of dollars is like, go eat what you love and get healthy and lose weight, right? You love chocolate cake. I'm sorry. That's probably not a good roadmap. Make decisions. In fact, I wrote an email that highlighted this not long ago, but like make decisions that eliminate other decisions. Again, so if you decide on Monday what you're going to eat for the entire week, that means that you will be eliminating decisions later in the week. Huge. Again, so the decisions fatigue is a very real thing. Again, something that you've seen me talk about in emails at different times if you follow them. The power of that decision fatigue is something you got to be careful. This is why Steve Jobs wore the same thing every day. Mark Zuckerberg wears the same thing every day. These things are real. Spending an enormous the amount of time that you spend during the day deciding what you're going to eat, eating, cleaning up after you eat, etc., waiting in line at McDonald's or the sub shop or wherever, crazy. When I said earlier here today, you motivate an idiot and they do stupid things quicker. That's like for, selling mentorship. My goodness, it's so many people. Just think of the guy who got off in Rome and instead of going to a GPS, what he does is he runs around, like working real hard, grinding, hustling, trying to find his way to wherever he's trying to go. He could have got there in 15, 20 minutes with a GPS, but instead, he took 3 days and then he gets there and calls himself successful, by the way. Again, you motivate an idiot, they do stupid things quicker. That's one I've been saying for a very, very long time. So motivational quote. I don't know if I'm hitting too many. Here's something else, Road Dog, comes to mind that I haven't said this. I used to write this in ridiculously large percentage of my emails, and I've come away from it, not intentionally, just one of those things. You kind of just, my emails have evolved or whatever that's looked like. But I used to say, I might make a meal of the wording, but it looks something like, you don't have a client problem. You don't have a money problem. You have a refusal to help people before you have a refusal to help people before they pay you problem. That's your problem. So it's something like that. But you get the idea, right? You don't have a client problem. You don't have a money problem. You refuse to help people before they write a check, right? Before they give you cash, before they hit your PayPal account. And that is the problem, right? So I think that has got, as you're moving into whatever time this is, if it's early in the year, middle of the year, towards the end of the year, really drilling down and working your butt off for folks that aren't paying you will, without being stupid about it, of course, right? But, then because there's a lot of advice out there, like, here's a different question, Carl, should I coach for free? Right? Well, there's lots of folks out there that refuse and they stand against it and yada, yada, yada. And I just say, Tom Brady threw the football for free for a little while before he started getting paid. Michael Jordan dribbled a basketball for a little while before he started getting paid, right? So to think that you need to start getting paid immediately is just asinine. But I'll presume, but if you're the coach that's crushing it, you're, netting 250 grand a year, you're super happy and, it's just a matter of going to the next level, then that's not necessarily advice that I'd be giving you because you don't need to. But if you're a coach getting going and trying to, get to your point that you got 100 grand a year and being comfortable with it, this is something that I'd be thinking about. Tony Robbins got a model. I don't think he uses it anymore, but, and Chet Holmes and him used to run radio ads, but they would basically provide you get 3 weeks of free coaching. And then on the 4th week, they would close you. Right. Well, they had ridiculously high, conversions, worked really, really well. But the most exciting bit about it is that you'd be coaching somebody for 3 weeks. So even if they don't sign up with you, what you will learn by doing 10 clients, 20 clients, 50 clients, 100 clients with that process will help you immeasurably as you move along. Because remember, look, you're trying to build a 7-figure coaching business. In fact, if you want to build a coaching business of any kind of volume, you want to make 100 grand a year, there's 3 baskets. There's lead generation, there is conversion of the client, and then there is fulfillment of the client. Everybody thinks about number 1, lead gen, lead gen, lead gen, lead gen. You'd be a million times better served by going to number 3, which does not have anywhere near the sexy delusional feel to it, but going to the fulfillment of the coaching, like actually get really stupidly, insanely good at coaching and delivering results, not for you and your bank account, but for your client and their bank account, and then watch what happens. Because this is where folks fall down. If you're trying to build a 7-figure coaching business, and some of you, if you're listening and you've seen me have that conversation, number 3 will stop you from getting to 7 figures, not number 1. Number 1, like lead generation, I hate to say it, it's about a million times easier than most folks make it, right? They're all caught up in their head and they got all this stuff, right? So it's all challenging. There's probably 1 billion people staring at Facebook right as you're listening to this. Probably pretty easy to go and convert a few of those folks, but it's going to take some effort and you're going to have to you got to help these people before they buy from you, right? So without going down that rabbit hole, hopefully people are, get the message there. But if you want to build a coaching business, 3 things: lead gen, conversion, and then fulfillment. And by the way, like with my magazine as an example, the 6-Figure Coach, which you're on this, there's a good chance you know about it. But like when we write articles, there's only 3 baskets. It's lead generation, conversion, and fulfillment. If your article doesn't fill one of those 3 baskets, it doesn't make the magazine. So every time we put out the magazine, it's like those are the 3 components to all of the articles. When I'm writing emails to you guys, I do a daily email, been doing it for a very long time now. One of the things I think about, like, as I'm building, I'm doing the email at the end of it, I'm asking myself, does this help them generate lead? Does this help them convert a lead? And does this help them fulfill on an existing coaching client so that they get paid, a couple grand a month for many years instead of for a period of weeks? Like, that's it. So anyways, Road Dog, that's what I would say. And if you were to push me on my favorite, you motivate an idiot, they do stupid things quicker. Again, I don't know that that's necessarily going to fall into a motivational quote, but I think that the power of that is absolutely insane. And this is why a lot of people are going in the wrong direction. They're jumping out of the airplane in Rome, and they're calling themselves successful when they get there in 3 days, not realizing it could have been there in 15 minutes if they would admit that they were lost, asked for some direction, made room, moved out some furniture to move some new furniture in. And they could have achieved so much more, so much easier, instead of the hustle and grind mentality. So there you go, Road Dog. That's my answer, bud. How's that?
Love it. Love it. Love it. I love the, basically, like, people are just too scared. They think they have all these, client problems, and it's just like, just pick up the phone, help people, and with no expectation. And it just changes your life.
It's 100%. 100%. I agree, buddy. Well, okay. What are we doing now, man? Are you going to throw me to the last bit of advice, or where are we at?
I was going to just close it out, bud. We got to get to work. We got stuff to do.
All right. Okay. I just want that I'm going to, if I may, I'm going to preempt that question. Like, one thing I want to leave people with, just the time of year that it is. Of course, it depends on when somebody's listening to this, but at the end of the day, it should always be day one. Of course, according to Jeff Bezos, who's apparently a pretty smart guy. Here, like, I'll answer the question. If you look at the questions again, it's basically around, how do I make $100,000 and call my own shots, right? But that's really what people, $100,000, net. And then of course a lot want to make 250, 500, $1 million. But at the end of the day, I promise you, this is what people want. They want to make $100,000 a year, call their own shots, right? So with that being said, here is the roadmap for you for the next 12 months. That is not maybe, not kinda, not sorta. You don't need to pay me 5 cents to do this. And it is absolutely guaranteed, 100% bulletproof. The only problem is you'll listen to it and then you won't do it. So it'll put a personal challenge to anybody listening to this to go and do it. Here is the roadmap. It's not sexy. It's not delusional, and it's not going to involve Facebook ads that I know everybody loves, right? Screw Facebook ads there. And I run, as you're listening to this, I got Facebook ads running right now, right? So again, if you want it, but very different. If you're I'm going to assume that what you're trying to do is get your business coaching company again to 6 figures, $250,000 a year and above. Here is your roadmap from today being day one, according to Jeff Bezos. Phone, yes, the phone, heaven forbid, pick it up, and you can attract that phone call through private messages and text messages and all sorts of fancy. If you want to go buy Instagram ads and Facebook ads, have at her. This is your job. Get 3 business owners on the phone every single day. Not most of the time. I know you get the sniffles and you're not feeling well today. I don't care. You get no passes whatsoever, right? Michael Jordan didn't take a day off because he got the sniffles. You get 3 business owners on the phone every single day. If you're not entirely sure how to go about doing that, then just pick up the damn phone and cold call them. Okay, but the difference is you're calling them to help. I don't want to pass the money. I don't want you to have a big game plan of filling your bank account. I don't want you to be thinking about how you're going to make $500,000 a year. I just want you to phone 3 business owners and help them. A great way to help them is to say, well, tell me this. What is the number one business problem you currently face in your business? Shut the hell up. Listen to them. Don't listen to what they say, but thinking second, third, fourth order consequences, which is all part of becoming step number 3 and an unbelievable coach that really solves problems. Because the problem they tell you they have is probably not going to be the problem that they really have. But I want you to get 3 people on the phone every single day in some way, shape, or form. Ask them that question. What is the number one problem that you currently face in your business? And then they tell you, and you say, I'm going to solve that problem for you for free. And basically you go to work on it. You'll be blown away at how easy it's always going to be. It's going to be, let me just give you away. It's going to be, the answer that they are going to give you is going to fall into one of 4 baskets: sales, marketing, staff, system, step number 4. They'll always fall into one of those 4. I can almost guarantee it. Or it might be a personal one where it's, life outside, and it's the kids and the wife and the husband and the pressure, whatever. But it's basically going to be in and around one of those 4. Drill down and just solve the problem for them and watch what happens. They will say, how can I pay you to help me in the future? They will say, I want to introduce you to my friend. That's what they will be doing. But you just help 3 business owners every single day. That is your roadmap. That is your undertaking for the next 12 months. I categorically guarantee that you can, if you do that, which you won't, but if you do, you cannot not make $100,000 a year as a business coach. It's impossible. And you can make those phone calls from Mexico, and you make them from Guatemala, and you could be in Rome, Italy. That would be really cool. You'd be wherever the heck you want, and you just make those phone calls and help them. And I swear, you cannot not make $100,000 a year. And frankly, the only problem you will have is you will have so many coaching clients that you will not be able to keep up. And you will have a newfound problem that a lot of our higher end guys, you will need to put coaches underneath you to facilitate a lot of the coaching. But wouldn't that be a cool problem to have? But it all starts with non-sexy, non-delusional, not Facebook ads, but just picking up that damn phone and getting people, whatever mechanism necessary, Facebook, private messages, text messages, joint ventures, speaking to friends, going to Facebook and putting it on, but just getting 3 business owners on the phone every single day. But I said this, and I don't want to sound overly harsh. The only problem is you won't do it. And then you're going to say in 12 months, you're going to send Road Dogg, and I another question that's going to be rather generic. And, and I get motivational quotes. That's a great question. Whoever asked that, it's a great question, right? But I don't feel like that's what they're really looking for, right? Road Dogg, you and I talk about this a lot offline, right? It's like significantly bigger problem that we're really trying to solve. So anyways, Road Dogg, that's my roadmap. I hope folks will take that advice, help 3 people every single day, and take the weekends off if you feel like you deserve it. I would work Saturday and Sunday because it's really easy to do, but that's up to you. Do it Monday to Friday. You can't not make $100,000 a year and call your own shots doing that. And business coaching is the greatest career in the world because of the flexibility and what you get to do. And most importantly, what you learn, right? The easiest way in the world to become a millionaire, a decamillionaire, and beyond is through building businesses. It's not stocks. It's not real estate. It's building businesses because you could double your money every 30 days for the rest of your life. So therefore, when you make these phone calls and you help these 3 business owners, what you're really going to be doing, and if you've heard me talk about mastery and the power of compounding, what you'll be learning and what you will be gaining will be so immeasurable in 12 months, you won't even recognize the person that is sitting here listening to this right now. So that is my last minute rant. I hope folks will do it. I doubt they will, but I challenge them to do so. And that roadmap is a bulletproof one. And this is the one that I followed, right? Just so everybody's clear here. Obviously, this is a number of years ago, but this is exactly what I did. So what do you think, Road Dogg? Do you like that bit of advice, bud?
I think it's beautiful. As you said, not sexy, non-delusional, just like you, Big Shoots. There it is. All right, everybody. Another great episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the handsome man on top of the hill, my boy King Karl. If you're not on the inside and getting access to the pre-show before the big show, then you aren't getting, and you're not getting Karl's daily emails, or you just want more information about how to build your coaching company, visit focused.com and subscribe today. Also, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share with a fellow coach or someone that you think would make a great coach. And of course, as always, we'd appreciate if you'd rate the episode, as we know that iTunes, Spotify, and everybody else gives a tremendous amount of weight towards reviews. So please leave us a review if you like what you heard. And that is it. Once again, for another episode, remember, folks, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.